Hi everyone, it's Nicole for Honeybee Stamps, and today I have this larger sized card. This is more of a standard greeting card that you would get at a store. This is a 5x7 card created with new stamps and dies from the latest release from Honeybee. This features the awesome Threshold die collection, which is an awesome door, wreath builder, just very cool and awesome. I really think it is most effective because it is so large and it will not fit an A2 sized card if you use a larger sized card like 5x7. I'm also going to incorporate another die collection from Honeybee from the last release before this one. This is the Bunch of Bouquets die collection, and I'm going to use this planter from that to kind of stick by the door, have a little branch out of it, and ornaments on it. So a way to incorporate another die collection with a new one. I'm always a big fan of mixing and matching supplies. Now I'm customizing my dies today. Everything is die cut from smooth white cardstock. This is Neenah Heavyweight 110-pound smooth white cardstock. I colored my planter in with greens, kind of darker hunterish type greens. And then I'm going to color in the mailbox slot, and then I am using what could be used as the casing or molding above the door, but I'm going to use it below the door as steps. So you can kind of use it however you want. But for my card and the scene I'm building today, I really felt like it was going to be more effective used in that manner. And I'm coloring that in with dark warm gray markers. Now for the door itself, it's layered, which is amazing. On the bigger of the two layers, I'm going to use some warm grays to warm it up a little bit. And I've also trimmed down a piece of Neenah Heavyweight smooth white cardstock to be a 5x7 card, meaning it's 10x7 scored in half at the 5-inch mark. And then I stenciled the front of that with the Tim Holtz bricked stencil and pumice stone distress ink to give it the look of a bricked house. Very light. You're not going to see a ton of it, so you saw I only stenciled the sides. And then for the front panel of my door, I am coloring this in with red markers. I'm doing all of this on a glass mat, meaning I can wipe this up with a little rubbing alcohol wipe, baby wipe, something like that when I'm done, and it's going to remove all the marker from my glass mat. It's actually I love doing this. It makes it coloring and customizing your die cuts with Copic markers so easy. I chose to color it in with Copic markers because you get that depth and dimension that you just don't get with inking colored cardstock or applying ink with cardstock. I really wanted the die cuts on my card to mimic and flow better with the stamped and colored elements that I'm going to be incorporating to finish building my scene. I started with R35, 37, 59, and 89, but mostly this is going to be R37, 59, and 89. The 35 really got covered up. I ended up not really using that a whole lot here, but because I did start with it, I did want to leave that in here so you knew which red marker colors I'm using. And the more saturated the layer gets, the more this is really going to look the way I want it to. And I found working in smaller areas, so I'd kind of just work in a couple little areas first and then blend really well and move on. I found that this really worked better than trying to add my shading to the whole door and go back. Now, when I die cut the two panels for the door, they die cut rectangles. And because I stenciled the background of my card and I wanted the background panel to match, it was easiest for me to take those larger rectangles from the top layer of my layered threshold door and color these in to coordinate. So my three layers are going to be the red layer, the white door layer, and then these rectangles placed back behind the openings to finish off the layers for the door. Just really so unique. I love how bold these dies are, how awesome they show up. It just makes creating a door fantastic. Now I am creating more of a holiday design card here with the wreath builder I'm using, the stamp set I'm using, but you guys, this does not have to be just for holiday. You can build a green wreath and just have a hello card, you know, a welcome to the neighborhood card. You're going to see I'm going to use a stamp set that's called Welcome Home, which I think would be great for a new homeowner, or whatever it might be. There's lots and lots of ways to use this die collection that does not have to be for holiday. I definitely did holiday, but maybe you do a whole bunch of planters or do a couple of planters and have flowers coming out of it for spring, for summer. Do some pumpkins on the stoop for fall. It's just a really versatile die collection that I'm really excited about. I think it's awesome. I'm using a little score tape now back behind my door, and we're going to put the red panel on top of the white panel. I've also put my mail slot on the front. I've used a white pen to add some embellishment to the corners. And now I'm going to put some 1/8 inch score tape along the window openings and pop those little rectangle panels back behind. I'm putting this pretty close to the opening. And we'll just peel those off and pop our panels in place. So very much building the background of my card first, and then we will go in and add all the fun detail. I'm adhering my door to my card base. You might remember we bricked that with a bricked stencil, so we're building our little house. I'm going to attach the stoop with foam adhesive and just pop that along the bottom edge of the card. It is going to be 5 inches long, so it's going to fit along the bottom edge perfectly. And then we're going to put our little planter over here to the left. I'm going to assemble that with the top of the planter, and then of course the rest of it. I have my die cut wreath that we're going to color in with some shades of brown. This is E55 and E57. And a lot of this part of the wreath isn't going to be seen really because we're going to cover it with some greenery for a holiday wreath, but you could definitely use it as is, and it would be really cute as well. Maybe even just color in the wreath with browns and then those little leaves coming out from it with green. Lots and lots of ways to use this. I think it would even be cute with some of the flowers from the bunch of bouquets die collection, and you could create a completely different kind of wreath. Now for the wreath elements from the Threshold die collection, I am coloring these in with my same green markers I used for the planter. That's G82, 94, and 99. And then we're going to start building our wreath. And I just put a little line of glue down the center, and then I'm going to start building that. And you're going to see I'm going to do this for both sides. And I'm going to leave a little opening at the top. I'm actually going to go in and add a bow that I've stamped and colored from the Welcome Home stamp set, and that's going to finish off my wreath perfectly. I've also got some little holly and berries dies from the Threshold collection. So because I'm making a holiday card, I decided to implement this, and I'm going to color in my leaves, color in my little berries, and place those in the bottom center. And then we're going to adhere our wreath to the door once we have all of our coloring done. And I did do 3 berries and 2 leaves. Ended up, you don't really see the leaves so much because the deer covers that up, but that doesn't really bother me so much. We're just completing a full scene here. There's going to be some overlap of some things. I'm going to put a little thin line of glue all over the back, pop my wreath on the door. Isn't that so cute? If you don't want your wreath partially covered, maybe choose some smaller critters. The bunny and the hedgehog from the same Silent Night stamp set that I'm using that has the deer would be just as adorable. Or maybe you want to use some images from other stamp sets that you have from Honeybee. That would be fun as well. The door handle was die cut from a gold mirror cardstock or foil cardstock and adhered. And there is kind of our background scene all built up. So we've got this really beautiful red door against a brick house with a dark gray stoop, and then our holiday wreath and that cute little planter. I did add a layer of Nouveau Crystal Drops in White Blizzard to the holly and berries for a glittery finish. And then the hello sentiment from the Threshold die collection was die cut from gold foil cardstock that's been adhered to fun foam with stick it adhesive. And that's going to go right across the center of our wreath. And I'm popping out all the little inside pieces from the letters. They die cut all the way. They just tend to stick inside because of that adhesive and foam. And then we're just going to carefully kind of position that in our wreath, pop that down in place, and then we're ready to start stamping and coloring our images from the Silent Night stamp set. This is a large, oversized 6x8 stamp set, gorgeous images. There's a couple of different borders. There's like the falling snow and then some little hearts. There's the tree branch I'm going to be using in the planter, the beautiful deer, of course, which definitely spoke to me. There's a Christmas tree, gift packages, an owl, a bunny, a hedgehog, a little floral, and then all these adorable dangling ornaments. And I'm going to color in my deer with E40, 43, 44, 47, and then 49 for the nose and the hooves. And he's got a little birdie sitting on his back that he's turned around looking at. I just think this deer is beautiful. I love this image. I did not worry about coloring around the spots on the back. I'm going to go in instead with a white pen and add that detail in after I've done my shading. That saves a little bit of time and energy in the coloring and shading process by not worrying about trying to color around all those little areas and just going back over them with a white opaque pen later. So we're going to finish our shading here and get this all colored in. This is by far the largest image to color, I guess, besides the door that we did a little bit ago. And the more saturated the paper gets, the easier it's going to be to blend. You don't want to oversaturate so it bleeds outside the line. Get some nice color laid down here. And then after we get the deer, we're going to color the little bird. I started with some light warm grays on the underside of the bird. And here's that white pen for the spots. Warm grays on the underside of the bird, and then some reds, same reds that I've used throughout the design so far for the rest of the bird, and a darker gray for the beak. I was anxious to see how this was all going to look, so I ended up die cutting my deer in the branch. The branch was stamped with a brown dye ink instead of black, because I wanted to see how he was going to look on my card, and I'm really excited. This is turning out the way I wanted it to look. Love these holiday images like this. I think it's just kind of really fun. So let's go back now and do a little bit more coloring. I did stamp all 3 packages from the Silent Night stamp set, and I'm going to color these in with Copic markers, again using the reds and greens I've previously used. Then we're going to pull in some kind of more peachy pink reds with our 30 and 32, and then a little bit more of a mint green color combination with G0, 0, 2, and 9. So we don't really get away from the color combination we're using, but we're going to implement and pull in more shades so that it has a little bit more interest. And I like how these turned out. I've also stamped the owl from the Silent Night stamp set, and he's going to be colored with those same neutral shades that I used for the deer. We'll just pull in a little YR04 for his beak and R30 for his cheeks. It wasn't until I had kind of stamped and colored and even die cut these images. I knew I was going to need the ornaments from the Silent Night stamp set, but I wasn't exactly sure how many, and so I decided I could put that off until I got a little further along in the card, and then I could come back and add those in, which was absolutely fine. But I knew I was going to use some sentiments from the Welcome Home. This is a stamp set that's also from the latest release, for the inside of my card to kind of finish off our greetings. And I saw that there's a bow in this stamp set that just works perfectly with the beautiful wreath. So I'm going to pull that bow in and the ornaments, and we'll color all of those here in a little bit when we get to that part of finishing the card. I'm going to tuck the packages down here by the little planter on the stoop. These again are going to have a nice little coating of some Nuvo Crystal Drops and White Blizzard on parts of the ribbons and decoration, so they have a little bit of sparkle. Perfect for a holiday card. And then we're going to take those greetings from the Welcome Home stamp set that I was talking about and stamp those on the inside of the card. And I'm using From Our Home to Yours. So it says hello from our home to yours. Now, yes, all of the decor on my card is Christmas themed, which works great for Christmas, but these same sentiments could be used for any time. So depending on what you use to decorate your card, you could really make this a card for anything. Or any occasion, I guess I should say. Here is the bow and the ornaments. We're going to have a red ornament, the red bow. Then we're going to have some peachy pink ornaments, some minty green ones. Going to color all of these in. Same marker colors that I've used throughout the design in other places. Just keeping this very, very consistent. These little ornaments, though, are going to finish off our little planter with that branch sticking out of it. I wasn't exactly sure I was going to finish going that direction until I kind of got to this point of building the card. And then once I started adding the bow to the wreath, the owl up there sitting on top, and then, of course, the branch in the planter and the ornaments, it really just seals the deal, finishes off this cute design. Some Nuvo Crystal Drops on the bow, so it's sparkly as well. Adding black glaze pen to the eyes on my critters, the owl and the deer. I did add eyelashes to the deer with a fine tip black pen earlier. Adding some little white pen detail here and there. I went over the design on the owl's chest with my white pen for a little layered effect. And then we're going to glue these ornaments in place on our little branch. I stamped 6 ornaments, ended up using 5. I'm a big fan of using an odd number most of the time. So I did use an odd number here to finish off my card. We're going to hang those ornaments from our branch. I'm gluing these down in place with Ranger Multi-Matte Medium. You can use whatever adhesive you like. These are pretty small, so I found that a liquid adhesive really worked the best here. So let's glue a couple more of these down. And just briefly, I thought that I had maybe accidentally thrown away one of my ornament dies. And because there are these die collections that come with your, or that you can get to go with your honeybee stamps, are so complete. There are dies for everything. It was there, I just didn't see it because it was so teeny tiny. There's that layer of Nouveau crystal drops to finish off my card, and the Threshold Silent Night Deer card is all finished. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this holiday themed card featuring new stamps and dies from Honeybee Stamps. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Honeybee stamps that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.